Hello and welcome to another edition of the Bastard Review. This time around I'm looking at ECW's November to Remember 98. This event took place on November 1st, 1998 in the UNO Lakefront Arena in New Orleans, Louisiana. We start off the night with Joey Styles in the ring announcing what we're going to be seeing later on in the night when Terry Funk comes down to the ring and he cuts a promo on how he wasn't invited to the show and how he hates Tommy Dreamer because Dreamer won't return his phone calls. It was just an odd little promo, and I think it was their attempt to turn Funk a heel, but it didn't work in my opinion because at this point in his career, it is nearly impossible to make Funk into a villain. And it's really unwise to do that here because he hasn't been in ECW for quite a while. And regardless of whether a wrestler is an established face or heel, when they come back from a long stint, the crowd is going to cheer them as a face. And unfortunately, I don't think this really works as a promo. But moving on, our first match of the night is the Blue Meanie and Supernova taking on a new tag team to come in the ECW, Danny Doring and Roadkill. About 2 or 3 minutes into the match, Funk comes out again and does his best to act crazy and freak out, but honestly, it kind of takes away from the match. And it doesn't help that he brings out a cameraman with him, and yet we never see what the camera shows from his perspective. The match is a pretty by-the-numbers tag team match. To me, Doring and Roadkill always seemed like they were single wrestlers that were teamed up by Heyman. They just looked so different from each other, and to my knowledge, it was never explained why they were together to begin with. It's impressive to see Roadkill fly off the top turnbuckle, but there's little else of consequence going on in this, and it certainly doesn't feel like a worthwhile opener for the show. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. After that, Tracy Smothers takes on Tommy Rogers in an incredibly boring match. There was some good interference from the FBI, but I both have to question why this wasn't a tag team match and why it was on the card to begin with. I could understand if one of these wrestlers were from the area, or if both wrestlers had a past feud to rekindle, but they don't, and it's laughable that this match is on one of ECW's biggest annual events. Even an appearance by Spike Dudley and Mabel, who you'll recognize as Viscera from the WWF WWE, couldn't save this match. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. After that, we have Lance Storm taking on Jerry Lynn with Mikey Whipwreck and Tammy Lynn Cinch as guest referee. Finally, the first worthwhile match on this card, and it really delivers. There's a complicated but really good story going on with all 4 participants, and this match just furthers the story, which I think will culminate in a triple threat between Storm, Lynn, and Whipwreck. At one point, Storm is outside the ring, and Lynn does a baseball slide into a Hurricane Rana. That was just really impressive. And then he follows it up with a rolling shoulder block off the apron onto Storm. Oh, it's just, I love watching both these wrestlers compete. They've got different styles, but they complement each other so well. I wish this were for a title, but it's still a great match. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Up next, Bowles Mahoney and Masato Tanaka take on Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley for the ECW World Tag Team titles. Masato and Bowles is just a really odd combination. I'm assuming Axel was injured, which is why he couldn't team up with Bowles. And honestly, they don't seem like much of a threat to the Dudleys tag titles. The match is pretty average. I wasn't expecting much. I was surprised by the ending. I don't know if I like it or not, and I don't really know if it works. It certainly makes things interesting, though, and for that I can't fault it. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. After that, there's a Dream Partner death match between Justin Credible and Tommy Dreamer. Now, Justin picks Jack Victory for some unknown, ungodly reason, and Tommy Dreamer picks Jake the Snake Roberts. Yeah, I was confused with that as well. I don't understand why they brought Jake in. He looked horribly out of shape even back then. And to my knowledge, he has no ties to Tommy at all, so it's kind of odd that he would pick Roberts as his partner. The match is just a complete clusterfuck. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a horrible match. And after the match, Terry Funk comes out and pretty much attacks Tommy Dreamer because Tommy didn't choose him as his dream partner. I can see where they're going with this feud, and it does promise to be memorable, but I really don't like the way that Funk is portraying himself as a manic, depressive, just completely delusional, elderly person. I think if he came in as a calm Terry Funk and then over the course of the pay-per-view got more and more upset, I think that would have worked a lot better, and it would have made for more shock value when he attacked Tommy. Just a horrible match and pretty much a waste of time. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. Finally, we come to the main event. Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, and Bam Bam Bigelow taking on Taz, Sabu, and Rob Van Dam. This was advertised as the Triple Threat versus the new Triple Threat. But the kicker here is that Taz doesn't get along with Sabu or Rob Van Dam, and RVD and Sabu are kind of on the skids. So I was really curious to see how they would work as a 3-man team. I've said it before, I'm not a fan of 6-man tags. This opened up with chaotic maybe 8 or 10 minutes, and then the remainder of the match was just a straight-laced tag. I really like the storyline going on in here where all the competitors pretty much hate each other. I was expecting Bam Bam to turn on the Triple Threat because all during the night Shane Douglas was saying how his team was a cohesive unit while the other team all hated each other. I was expecting a swerve with maybe Bam Bam turning on his team, but I love the ending. I think it works really well, and it opens up for a lot of possibilities in the future. There really weren't any memorable moments in this match, save for the very end. And as far as 6-man tags go, this was a very adequate match. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Overall, ECW's November to Remember 98 is a barely above average pay-per-view. You've got a couple of really good matches with coherent storylines, but they're bogged down by the rest of this card. And that's very unfortunate because just 3 months prior they put on a phenomenal 8 out of 10 pay-per-view. Just very disconcerting. ECW compilists will want this for their collection, but if you're just a casual wrestling fan, there's only a couple matches here worth picking up. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Thank you for listening. Please tune in again to another Bastard Review when I review another wrestling DVD in my collection or anything else that crosses my path.